Threads of the Heart, ***. The sun had barely risen over the small town of Willowbrook, painting the horizon in soft shades of orange and gold. Birds chirped in a gentle symphony, welcoming the new day. Yet inside the Hartwell house, the atmosphere was far from tranquil. Emily Hartwell sat by the kitchen window, her fingers wrapped around a steaming mug of tea. Her eyes were distant, lost in thoughts that felt heavier than her 17 years should allow. She watched her younger brother, Liam, stumble down the stairs, his hair a messy tangle from sleep. "Good morning, sleepyhead," she called, forcing a smile. "Morning, Em," Liam mumbled, barely looking up from the cereal bowl he was hastily devouring. Their parents, Sarah and Robert Hartwell, were already bustling about, preparing for another busy day at the family-owned bookstore downtown. Emily loved the bookstore. It had been her sanctuary since childhood. Shelves stacked high with stories from around the world, the scent of old paper mingling with fresh coffee. It was where she felt most alive. Yet, lately she'd been restless, craving something beyond the pages, something that made her heart race in the real world, not just in fiction. Her thoughts were interrupted by a soft knock at the door. She turned, curious. No one ever knocked. Everyone just barged in. "Who is it?" she asked. A deep, unfamiliar voice answered. "Emily Hartwell?" Emily furrowed her brows. "Yes, who's asking?" The door creaked open, and a young man stood there, holding a small, neatly wrapped package. His hair was dark, slightly tousled, and his eyes, they were the kind that seemed to see right through you. He gave a polite smile, a hint of nervousness hidden beneath confidence. "I'm Daniel Mercer. I believe this was delivered to your house by mistake," he said, handing over the package. Emily took it cautiously. "I wasn't expecting anything. Are you sure it's mine?" Daniel nodded, his gaze flickering to the mailbox behind him. "Don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe." Then back to her. "I think it's meant for you. My apologies for the intrusion." Something about him made Emily's heart skip a beat, though she didn't understand why. "Thank you. You can leave it on the table if you want." "No, I'd rather give it to you personally," he replied softly. There was a sincerity in his voice that made Emily nod. After a brief awkward pause, he turned to leave, but paused at the doorframe. "Maybe I'll see you around?" Emily blinked, unsure how to respond. "Maybe." And just like that he was gone. But the echo of his presence lingered in the room, like a chord struck on a piano, resonating deep inside her chest. Later that day, Emily found herself thinking about him constantly. Who was he? Why had he chosen to speak to her instead of just leaving the package? She felt an odd sense of connection, like a story had begun that she wasn't yet ready to read. Yet she couldn't put the book down. The following morning brought with it the usual routine: school, homework, and the never-ending chatter of her friends. But Emily's mind wandered, lost in the memory of Daniel's eyes, his calm demeanor. It wasn't until Thursday that their paths crossed again. Emily had stopped by the bookstore after school, hoping to lose herself in the familiar scent of old novels. As she pushed open the door, she froze. Daniel was there, behind the counter, flipping through a ledger with meticulous care. His head snapped up, and when he saw her, a small, genuine smile formed on his lips. "Hi," he said, voice carrying a warmth that made Emily's pulse quicken. "Hi," she whispered, her voice barely audible over the creaking of the wooden floor. "I didn't expect to see you here," he admitted. Emily shrugged, suddenly aware of how her fingers fiddled nervously with the strap of her backpack. "I come here often. It's peaceful." Daniel's eyes softened. "I can see why. I've always loved bookstores. They feel like safe havens." "Don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe." There was a pause, comfortable yet charged with something neither of them could name. "I'm Daniel," he said again, though she already knew. "And you are?" "Emily," she replied, a shy smile forming. "Emily," he repeated, as if tasting the name, savoring it. There was a quiet charm to him, a slow-burning warmth that made Emily want to linger, to speak, to know more. Over the next few weeks, Daniel became a regular visitor. He'd appear at the bookstore with a new book tucked under his arm, sometimes to discuss a favorite author, sometimes just to sit and read silently beside her. Emily's parents noticed the change in her. Her smiles were brighter, her laughter lighter, her eyes more alive. One evening, As the sky turned a deep purple, Daniel asked Emily to walk with him to the small park behind the bookstore. They strolled along the winding path, the autumn leaves crunching underfoot. "You know," Daniel began softly, "I've met a lot of people in my life, but I've never met anyone like you. You make everything feel simpler, yet more extraordinary." Emily felt her cheeks heat. "I feel the same way," she admitted. Her voice was barely above a whisper, carried away slightly by the cool evening breeze. Daniel stopped walking and turned to her, his gaze locking with hers. Can I hold your hand?" Emily hesitated, heart-thudding, then nodded. Their fingers intertwined naturally, like pieces of a puzzle that had finally found their place. As weeks turned into months, Emily and Daniel's bond deepened. They shared secrets, dreams, and fears. Emily introduced Daniel to her family, who welcomed him with warmth and curiosity. Her parents could see the love blooming in their daughter's eyes, and even Liam, initially skeptical, warmed up to Daniel's kind and patient nature. But life, as it often does, had its complications. Daniel's family lived in a neighboring city, and he was preparing for a major career move that could take him far away. The thought of losing him was unbearable to Emily, but she tried to mask her fears behind smiles and laughter. One evening, under the golden glow of the bookstore lights, Daniel held Emily close. "No matter where I go," he whispered, "I promise us will never fade." Tears filled Emily's eyes. "I believe you," she said, resting her head against his chest. "Don't forget to subscribe and hit the like." That night, as she lay in bed, Emily realized something profound. Love wasn't just about moments of joy. It was about trust, patience, and holding on even when life seemed determined to pull them apart. The days that followed tested their resolve. Distance, misunderstandings, and external pressures crept into their lives, threatening to unravel the delicate thread they had woven together. Yet, every time they faced a challenge, they remembered the small park, the bookstore, the quiet evenings where their hearts had first spoken. It wasn't always easy. There were arguments, moments of doubt, and nights when Emily would cry silently, fearing the future. But there were also moments of laughter, whispered promises, and the gentle comfort of a hand to hold. And through it all, one truth remained unshakable. Love, in its purest form, was worth every struggle. The morning sun streamed through Emily's bedroom window, casting a golden glow across the familiar posters and books that lined her walls. She stirred slowly, still tangled in thoughts of Daniel. Last night's embrace replayed in her mind, a soothing echo against the worries of the future. She knew his career ambitions could take him far away, yet somehow, the thought of losing him made her chest ache. Downstairs, the aroma of fresh pancakes filled the house. Emily's mom, Sarah, hummed a tune as she flipped the golden stacks onto a plate. Liam bounced into the kitchen, chattering about a new video game he wanted. Emily smiled, joining in the banter, but her thoughts kept drifting to Daniel. A notification on her phone made her heart leap. A message from Daniel. Morning love. Can't wait to see you at the bookstore tonight. I have something important to tell you. Yellow heart. Her pulse quickened. Something important. Emily's mind raced through possibilities, some exhilarating, some terrifying. She tried not to overthink it, taking a deep breath, but the excitement and nerves mingled into a cocktail she couldn't shake. Don't forget to subscribe. Moment here. If you're enjoying Emily and Daniel's journey, make sure to hit that subscribe button so you don't miss the next twist in their story. The day dragged on at school, each lesson feeling longer than the last. Emily's friends noticed her distracted demeanor. You're blushing again. Tell me who's got you all giddy? One teased. Emily smiled faintly, shaking her head. Just some personal things, she murmured. By the time the final bell rang, Emily could hardly contain her anticipation. She grabbed her bag and headed straight to the bookstore, her footsteps echoing on the familiar cobblestone path. As she entered, she saw Daniel waiting by the counter, a small envelope in his hand and a nervous smile on his face. Hey, she whispered, her eyes lighting up. Hey, he replied softly, stepping closer. He handed her the envelope. Open it. You'll understand everything. Emily's fingers trembled slightly as she pulled out the contents, a set of plane tickets, a folded letter, and a tiny charm shaped like a heart. She looked up at Daniel, confused. I got the opportunity to study art in Florence for a year, he explained, voice calm but eyes searching hers. I didn't want to leave without being honest. But I don't want us to drift apart. This is for us. A promise that no matter the distance, we'll find our way back to each other. Emily's eyes filled with tears. The thought of being apart for an entire year was almost unbearable. Yet the gesture warmed her heart. Daniel, I don't know what to say. You don't have to say anything right now, he said, taking her hand gently. Just promise me one thing. Never stop believing in us. She nodded, a lump forming in her throat. I promise. The days leading up to his departure were a whirlwind of emotions. They spent every moment together, walking through the park, sipping coffee at their favorite cafe, and getting lost in the bookstore aisles. Every laugh, every touch, every whispered word became a memory they clung to desperately. If you're enjoying this romantic journey, make sure to subscribe and follow for more heartfelt moments between Emily and Daniel. Finally, the day came. Daniel's suitcase sat by the front door, his passport and tickets ready. Emily's parents hugged them both, offering words of encouragement. Liam, though trying to hide it, had tears in his eyes. I'll write every day, Daniel promised, his voice steady yet tinged with sadness. And I'll come back. I swear it. Emily held on to him tightly, memorizing the feel of his arms around her. I'll be waiting, she whispered. Every single day. The airport was crowded, the hum of travelers filling the air, but for Emily and Daniel, it felt like the world had narrowed to just the two of them. As he walked toward the boarding gate, he turned, waving one last time. Emily waved back, tears streaming down her face. She whispered a silent prayer, hoping their love could survive the distance. Weeks turned into months, and technology became their lifeline. Late-night video calls, voice messages, and shared playlists became their connection. Every morning, Emily would wake up to a sweet good morning text, and every night, Daniel's voice would soothe her into sleep. Yet, distance was not without its trials. Miscommunications arose, and the ache of longing was sometimes unbearable. Emily found herself lying awake, wondering if he was thinking of her, fearing that the time apart might weaken their bond. One rainy evening, Emily sat by her window, scrolling through her phone. A message from Daniel popped up. Asterisk, I miss you more than words can say. But tonight, I have a surprise for you. Asterisk. Curiosity sparked. A surprise, she typed back. Asterisk, check your mailbox. Asterisk. Emily rushed outside, the rain soaking her hair and clothes. In her mailbox was a small package, carefully wrapped. Inside, she found a handmade scrapbook filled with sketches of their memories together. The park, the bookstore, quiet evenings, laughter, and moments they had shared. On the last page, a note read, Asterisk, no matter where I am, no matter the miles, my heart is always with you. Wait for me, Daniel. Asterisk. Tears streamed down Emily's face, a mixture of sadness and joy. She clutched the scrapbook close, feeling Daniel's presence across the distance. Love, she realized, was not about proximity. It was about connection, trust, and unwavering faith in each other. If you're moved by Emily and Daniel's story, don't forget to subscribe and stay tuned as their journey takes new turns. Months passed, and Emily focused on her own passions. She volunteered at the bookstore, helped her family, and even began painting, inspired by Daniel's sketches and words. Each painting was a tribute to their love, a way to keep him close when he couldn't be there. Physically, one sunny afternoon, as Emily arranged books on a shelf, the bell above the bookstore door jingled. She looked up, and her heart skipped a beat. Standing there, with a small bouquet of flowers in hand and that same warm smile, was Daniel. I promised I'd come back, he said softly, stepping toward her. Emily dropped everything and ran into his arms, laughing and crying at the same time. I knew you would, she whispered, holding him tightly. Daniel kissed her forehead gently. I told you no matter the distance, we would find our way back. As they stood there, surrounded by the scent of books and the comfort of familiarity, Emily realized that love, true love, was resilient. It could survive separation, trials, and uncertainty. It thrived on trust, patience, and the courage to believe in something bigger than themselves. That evening, as they walked hand in hand through the park where their journey had truly begun, Emily smiled. The autumn leaves danced around them, and the soft glow of the sunset painted the sky in shades of pink and gold. They had faced the distance, the fear, and the uncertainty, and emerged stronger, bound by a love that neither time nor miles could diminish. And as they paused by their favorite bench, Daniel whispered, "This is just the beginning, Emily. Our story, it's only getting started." Emily leaned her head on his shoulder, heart full, eyes glistening with tears of happiness. "I can't wait to see where it takes us." Life had settled into a comfortable rhythm for Emily and Daniel. Yet comfort, as Emily would soon learn, could sometimes mask the storms waiting on the horizon. The bookstore hummed with activity, and Emily's paintings had become a quiet sensation in the small town, admired by locals who found themselves captivated by the emotions she captured on canvas. Daniel, now back from Florence, had returned with a new sense of purpose and an eagerness to spend every possible moment with Emily. But love, as beautiful as it was, could not exist in a bubble. Emily's parents, though fond of Daniel, began expressing concerns about the future. "Emily," Sarah said one evening over dinner, her voice gentle but firm, "Daniel is wonderful, but you're still young. Are you sure you're ready for such a serious relationship?" Emily's fork paused midair. "Mom, I know he's serious, and so am I. I love him. I trust him." Her father, Robert, nodded slowly. "We just want to make sure you're thinking long-term. Sometimes emotions can cloud judgment." Emily's eyes flashed with a mix of frustration and determination. "I'm not a child anymore. I can make my own choices." The tension was subtle but present, a delicate undercurrent in the home. Emily knew her parents' concerns were born out of love, yet their doubts made her feel torn. She didn't want to disappoint them, but she also couldn't deny the pull of her heart toward Daniel. If you're following Emily and Daniel's heartfelt journey, hit subscribe now and join them as they navigate love and family challenges. Meanwhile, Daniel faced his own pressures. His career in art was demanding, and the opportunities that had once seemed thrilling now carried responsibilities and expectations. He often stayed late at the gallery, sketching commissions, leaving Emily to worry silently at home. One rainy evening, Emily sat by the window, sketchbook in her lap, trying to capture the way the raindrops danced on the glass. Her phone buzzed. A message from Daniel. Asterisk, "I'm sorry I'm late. I wanted to surprise you tonight, but work ran over. Meet me at the park." Asterisk. Emily sighed. She knew he was trying, but the constant balancing act between love and career left her feeling fragile. "I'll be there," she typed back, forcing a smile. When she arrived, Daniel was already there, standing under the glow of the lamppost, holding a small umbrella. He smiled as she approached. "You waited?" he asked softly. "For you?" "Always," Emily replied, her voice catching. They walked together along the wet paths, the sound of raindrops mingling with the rhythm of their footsteps. "I hate seeing you worried," Daniel said after a pause. "I'm trying, Emily. I promise I'm trying." "I know," she whispered, squeezing his hand. Sometimes it feels like we're on different tracks." Daniel stopped walking and turned to face her. "We are on different tracks sometimes. But that doesn't mean we're going in opposite directions. We'll figure it out. Together." The honesty in his words brought tears to Emily's eyes. She leaned her head against his shoulder, feeling the steady beat of his heart. A reminder that love wasn't always easy, but it was worth the struggle. If Emily and Daniel's love story keeps your heart racing, subscribe now to catch every twist and turn of their journey. The next few weeks brought a mixture of joy and challenges. Emily's younger brother, Liam, had started high school and was struggling with bullies. Emily found herself juggling concern for him with her own emotional turbulence. Daniel, ever supportive, helped her navigate these challenges, attending parent-teacher meetings and encouraging Liam through his difficulties. One evening, after helping Liam with a particularly tough assignment, Emily and Daniel sat in the garden, wrapped in blankets, watching the stars emerge in the night sky. "Do you ever think about the future?" Emily asked quietly, tracing patterns in the condensation on her mug. "All the time," Daniel admitted. "I think about us, our dreams, what kind of life we want to build together." And sometimes it scares me, because I want it to be perfect for you, for your family. Emily took his hand. Nothing will be perfect. But if we face it together, it can be beautiful. Their hands intertwined, hearts aligned. The worries of the world shrinking to insignificance for those fleeting moments. But life, with its uncanny ability to challenge love at every turn, had another test in store. One afternoon, a letter arrived for Emily, a notice from the town council. The Hartwell bookstore was being considered for a historical designation, meaning renovations and operations would face strict limitations. This was both an honor and a challenge, as it threatened the family's plans for expansion and modernization. Emily shared the news with Daniel, who frowned thoughtfully. This could be a real setback, he said, concern etched across his face. But we'll get through it. We always do. Sarah, Emily's mother, entered the room, noticing the tension. Emily, Daniel, I know this is stressful. But remember, challenges are part of life. It's how we respond that defines us. Emily nodded, feeling reassured by her parents' wisdom and Daniel's support. She realized that love wasn't just about romance. It was about facing life's hurdles together, growing stronger with each obstacle. If you're inspired by Emily and Daniel's journey through love and life, subscribe now to see how they overcome new challenges together. As the months rolled on, Emily and Daniel found a rhythm, balancing love, family, and personal growth. They celebrated small victories. The successful completion of Emily's first local art exhibition, Daniel's gallery recognition, Liam overcoming bullying, and the Hartwell bookstore surviving the town council's scrutiny. Yet the world wasn't done testing them. One rainy afternoon, as Emily returned from the gallery, she found a note slipped under her door. It was from Daniel, written in his elegant, familiar handwriting. Meet me at the bridge by the lake. I have something important to tell you. Don't worry, I'm not in trouble. Just come. Her heart raced. Every instinct told her to run to him immediately, yet a sliver of fear threaded through her excitement. She grabbed her coat and dashed through the rain, her thoughts consumed with anticipation and anxiety. Daniel was already there, standing at the edge of the wooden bridge, rain dripping from his hair, but his eyes fixed solely on her. He stepped forward, taking her hands in his. Emily, there's something I need to ask you. Emily's breath caught. What is it? Daniel took a deep breath, his voice steady but tender. I love you. More than words can ever express. I don't want to spend another day without knowing. Will you spend your life with me? Tears welled up in Emily's eyes, her heart swelling with love and relief. Yes, Daniel. I love you too. Always. They embraced, the rain washing over them like a blessing. The bridge beneath their feet a symbol of the paths they had crossed to reach this moment. If this heartfelt moment touched you, subscribe now and continue following Emily and Daniel's journey of love and life. As they walked home that evening, soaked but smiling, Emily realized something profound. Love was not just about grand gestures or perfect moments. It was about resilience, patience, and unwavering trust. It was about standing together through storms, finding beauty in challenges, and celebrating victories, both big and small. Emily and Daniel's journey was far from over. But in that moment, surrounded by the gentle glow of streetlights reflecting on wet pavement, their hearts were aligned, ready to face whatever life had in store. The news of Emily and Daniel's engagement spread through Willowbrook faster than the morning breeze. The bookstore buzzed with congratulations, warm smiles, and curious whispers. Customers lingered longer than usual, eager to hear the story of the proposal at the bridge, a place that now felt almost sacred. Emily stood behind the counter, her fingers unconsciously touching the simple ring on her hand. Every time she looked at it, a wave of emotion washed over her, love, excitement, and a quiet fear of the unknown. Sarah noticed. A mother always did. You're glowing, she said softly, placing a hand on Emily's shoulder. But you're also thinking too much. Emily smiled faintly. Is it that obvious? Sarah chuckled. Marriage isn't just about love, sweetheart. It's about patience, compromise, and learning each other in ways you never imagined. That night, as Emily lay in bed, her thoughts raced. She loved Daniel deeply, but with engagement came expectations. Family, finances, futures. Love felt pure, but responsibility felt heavy. Asterisk. If you're enjoying this emotional love story so far, don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel, because Emily and Daniel's journey is only getting deeper. Asterisk. Daniel, on the other hand, was facing a storm of his own. His parents arrived from the city a few days after the engagement. They were elegant, polished, and carried the weight of expectations that had shaped Daniel's entire life. At dinner, his father cleared his throat. "Daniel, we're proud of your achievements," he said. "But marriage is a serious commitment. Are you financially stable enough? Is this practical?" The word practical hung in the air like a silent accusation. Daniel's jaw tightened. "Emily isn't a decision I made lightly. She's my partner. My future." His mother offered a polite smile. "We don't doubt your feelings. But love alone doesn't build a life." Later that night, Daniel sat alone, staring at his sketchbook. The faces he drew always became Emily's. Her eyes, her smile, the way she looked when she wasn't trying to be strong. He whispered to himself, "I'll prove them wrong." For her. The first real crack appeared during wedding planning. Emily wanted something simple. An intimate ceremony surrounded by books, fairy lights, and family. Daniel's parents suggested a grand city venue, elegant and expensive. Voices rose. Smiles faded. Emily finally spoke, her voice calm but firm. "I don't want a wedding that feels like a performance. I want it to feel like us." Silence followed. Daniel stood beside her. "We'll do it our way." But later that evening, when they were alone, the tension spilled over. "You embarrassed my parents," Daniel said, frustration slipping through. Emily's eyes widened. "I embarrassed them? I was honest." "You could have been more flexible," he replied. "And you could have stood up for me sooner," she shot back. The words cut deeper than either of them expected. That night, they slept facing opposite sides of the bed, both staring into darkness, wondering how love could suddenly feel so complicated. Asterisk. Love is beautiful, but it's never easy. If you're emotionally connected to this story, subscribe now so you don't miss what happens next. Asterisk. Days passed with little conversation. Emily threw herself into work at the bookstore, while Daniel stayed late at the gallery. Distance crept in, not physical but emotional. One evening, Emily overheard her parents talking. "She loves him deeply," Sarah said. "But love alone won't protect her from heartbreak." Emily's chest tightened. That same night, she walked alone to the bridge where Daniel had proposed. The water below reflected the moonlight, just like it had that rainy evening. She whispered, "Are we strong enough?" Footsteps approached. "Daniel, I knew I'd find you here," he said quietly. They stood in silence before he spoke again. "I've been trying to be everything for everyone," he admitted. "A good son. A successful artist. A perfect partner. And I forgot to just listen." Emily's eyes filled with tears. "I don't need perfection," she said. "I need honesty. I need us." Daniel took her hands, squeezing gently. "I choose you, even when it's hard. Especially when it's hard." They embraced, not in fairy tale romance, but in raw, honest love. The kind that survives arguments and misunderstandings. Weeks later, life tested them again. The bookstore faced financial trouble due to new digital competitors. Emily felt helpless watching her parents struggle. Daniel surprised her one evening with a plan. "I'm organizing a community art and book festival," he said. "Your bookstore will be the heart of it." Emily stared at him, stunned. "You do that for us?" "For you. For your family," he replied. The festival was a success beyond expectations. Locals turned out in droves, supporting the bookstore, celebrating art, stories, and community. Emily watched Daniel laugh with her father, help her mother, encourage Liam. In that moment, she saw not just the man she loved, but the partner she needed. Asterisk. If this story is touching your heart, press like and subscribe now to support more emotional stories like this. Asterisk. That night, as they sat on the bookstore floor surrounded by fairy lights and leftover decorations, Emily rested her head on Daniel's shoulder. "We'll be okay," she said softly. Daniel smiled. "We already are." Outside, the town slept peacefully, unaware that within its quiet streets, Two hearts were learning the true meaning of love. Not perfection, not fantasy, but commitment, sacrifice, and growth. And as Emily closed her eyes, she realized something important. Love wasn't just about falling, it was about staying. The closer the wedding day came, the heavier everything felt. Emily didn't expect happiness to feel this fragile. The bookstore was quiet that afternoon, the kind of quiet that made thoughts echo louder. Emily sat at the small desk near the window, wedding planner open, dates circled, lists half complete. Every page felt like a reminder that love, once simple, was now layered with expectations. Her phone buzzed. A message from Daniel's mother. Asterisk, we need to talk. Please come by this evening. Asterisk. Emily's stomach tightened. Daniel's family home was beautiful. Large windows, modern decor, everything carefully placed. Yet tonight it felt cold. Emily sat on the edge of the couch, hands folded, trying to steady her breathing. Daniel's mother spoke first. Emily, we admire your kindness, she said calmly. But marriage changes everything. Daniel's career is growing. His future will be demanding. We're not sure your lifestyle aligns with that. Emily felt the words like small cuts. My lifestyle? She asked quietly. The bookstore. The small-town life. It's charming, yes, but limiting. Silence followed. Daniel finally spoke, his voice tight. Mom, that's unfair. His father sighed. We're not saying this to hurt you. We're saying this because love doesn't pay bills, and sacrifice often falls on one side. Emily stood. With respect, she said, voice shaking but steady. I have never asked Daniel to give up his dreams. I have only asked him to walk beside me. She turned to Daniel, eyes glossy. I need air. And she left. That night, Emily walked aimlessly through Willowbrook. The lights felt dimmer. The streets felt longer. Every step echoed one question in her mind. Am I holding him back? She stopped at the bookstore, unlocked the door, and stepped inside. The smell of books wrapped around her like an old friend. She sank to the floor between the shelves and cried silently. Asterisk, if this story is making you feel every emotion, take a moment to like the video and subscribe. Emily's hardest moments are still ahead. Asterisk. Daniel didn't come home that night. He stayed in his studio, staring at unfinished paintings, unable to sleep. His parents' words replayed over and over. Emily's hurt expression burned in his chest. By morning, a decision had formed. Heavy, terrifying, but clear. 2 days later, Emily received a letter. Not a text. Not a call. A letter. Her hands trembled as she opened it. Emily, if you're reading this, it means I wasn't strong enough to say it out loud. Asterisk, I love you more than anything. But love shouldn't feel like a battlefield. Asterisk. Right now, everything around us is pressure, expectations, fear. Asterisk, maybe we need time. Space. Not to end us, but to understand ourselves. Asterisk. I don't want to hurt you more than I already have. Please know this distance isn't because I stopped loving you. It's because I love you enough to step back. Daniel. The letter slipped from her fingers. The world felt unbearably quiet. Days turned into weeks. The engagement was postponed. That's what people said. But Emily felt like something precious had shattered. She stopped painting. Stopped planning. Stopped dreaming. She worked at the bookstore mechanically, smiling when required, breaking when alone. Liam noticed. You okay, Em? He asked one evening. She nodded. Just tired. But inside, she felt empty. Daniel left town. No one knew where. No updates. No messages. Only silence. Asterisk, love, distance, silence. If you want to see whether Emily and Daniel find their way back, subscribe now. This story is far from over. Asterisk. One evening, months later, the bookstore hosted a small reading event. Emily almost canceled, but something told her not to. As the last guest left, a man remained near the back. Emily looked up. Her breath caught. Daniel. He looked thinner. Older. Changed. Their eyes met. Neither moved. I didn't come to disrupt your life, he said quietly. I just needed to see you. I didn't come to disrupt your life, he said quietly, that I just needed to see you. Emily crossed her arms, emotions flooding back. You disappeared. I was lost, he replied. And I didn't want to drag you with me. She swallowed hard. You don't get to decide what I can handle. Silence stretched between them. Daniel took a deep breath. I turned down the city offer. I chose my art. My pace. My truth. Emily's eyes widened. I realized something, he continued. A future without you isn't success. It's just noise. Tears streamed down Emily's face. You broke me, she whispered. I know, he said. And I'll spend my life earning back your trust, if you let me. Outside, rain began to fall. Just like the night he proposed. Emily looked at him, really looked at him. The man she loved. The man who failed. The man who returned. Not perfect, but honest. Love doesn't survive silence, she said softly. Daniel nodded. Then let me speak. Every day. For the rest of my life. She stepped forward. Slowly. Carefully. And hugged him. Not a reunion of fireworks, but of healing. As they stood there, the bookstore lights glowing behind them, Emily understood something deeper than romance. Love isn't proven in promises. It's proven in return. Asterisk, if this reunion touched your heart, like the video and subscribe now. The final chapters of Emily and Daniel's story are coming. Asterisk. They didn't rush back into plans. They talked. They listened. They healed. And for the first time, love felt quiet but strong. Healing did not arrive like a miracle. It came quietly. In small conversations. In honest pauses. In moments where silence no longer hurt, but felt safe. Emily and Daniel did not announce anything. No explanations to the town. No promises to the world. They simply began again, gently, like people relearning how to breathe together. They met at the bookstore after closing hours. Sat on the floor between shelves. Talked about everything they had been afraid to say before. I was scared, Emily admitted one night. Not of losing you, but of losing myself. Daniel nodded slowly. And I was scared of failing everyone. I didn't realize I was already failing the one person who mattered most. There were tears. There were apologies. There was forgiveness. Not instant but real. Asterisk, if you believe real love is about healing and second chances, like this video and subscribe now. Emily and Daniel's journey is reaching its most powerful phase. Asterisk. Daniel started helping at the bookstore again, not as a visitor, but as family. He fixed shelves, painted walls, organized events. Slowly Robert Hartwell began to see him differently. One evening, after closing, Robert handed Daniel a cup of tea. You hurt my daughter, he said plainly. Daniel swallowed. I know. And I'll never forgive myself for that. Robert studied him for a long moment. But you came back. Most people don't. That was the closest thing to approval Daniel had ever received. Emily's mother, Sarah, was gentler, but just as watchful. Love can survive many things, she told Emily quietly. But only if both people grow. Emily smiled softly. We're growing. Slowly, but together. Daniel's parents were harder. When they heard he had rejected the city offer permanently, disappointment was immediate. You're throwing away your potential, his father said sharply over the phone. Daniel replied calmly. No. I'm choosing a life that feels honest. There was silence. Weeks passed before his mother finally called. Bring Emily to dinner, she said. We need to talk. The dinner was tense. Emily wore a simple dress. Daniel held her hand under the table. His mother spoke first. I won't pretend I understand your choices. But I see the man you've become. She turned to Emily. And I see the strength you gave him, by letting him lose you. Emily's eyes filled with tears. That night didn't end with warmth, but it ended with respect. And sometimes that was enough to begin again. Asterisk, family acceptance takes time. If you want to witness how love changes hearts, subscribe now for the final chapters. Asterisk. Months passed. Emily returned to painting. Daniel returned to creating. This time without fear. Together, they organized a permanent art space inside the bookstore. Paintings, readings, music nights. The town embraced it. Willowbrook felt alive again. One quiet evening, Daniel led Emily to the bridge. Not dramatically. Not with an audience. Just them. I won't ask you again, he said softly. Not yet. Not unless you're ready. Emily smiled, eyes shining. I already am. He knelt anyway. This time, there was no rain. Only sunset. I don't promise perfection, Daniel said. I promise presence. I promise honesty. I promise to never leave without fighting for us. Emily's voice trembled. Yes. Always yes. Asterisk. Asterisk. If this proposal touched your heart, like the video and subscribe. One final chapter remains. Asterisk. The wedding was simple. Books instead of flowers. Music instead of luxury. Love instead of fear. Daniel's parents attended. Quiet but respectful. Emily walked down the aisle holding her mother's hand. Her father's eyes full of tears. When Daniel saw her, he cried openly. I found my home, he whispered. And Emily knew this time he meant it. As they stood together, hands entwined, the town that had watched their story unfold now witnessed its truth. Love doesn't arrive whole. It breaks. It teaches. It returns if it's real. And as they kissed, the bells rang. Years passed, not loudly, but gently, like pages turning in a beloved book. Willowbrook changed, but some things remained beautifully the same. The Hartwell bookstore still stood at the corner of the street, its wooden sign slightly faded, its windows glowing warmly every evening. Inside, laughter mixed with the scent of old pages and fresh coffee. Emily unlocked the door one quiet morning, sunlight spilling across the floor. A small hand tugged at her coat. Mommy, can I arrange the books today? Emily smiled down at her daughter Lily, whose eyes carried the same wonder Emily once had. Of course. Just don't mix fiction with history again, she teased. Lily giggled and ran ahead. From the back room, Daniel watched them, holding a mug of coffee, his hair now lightly streaked with gray. His eyes softened every time he looked at his family, not out of habit, but gratitude. Love hadn't grown louder with time. It had grown deeper. Asterisk, if this story stayed with you till the end, please like the video and subscribe. Stories like this are written for hearts that believe in love beyond perfection. Asterisk. Life after marriage hadn't been easy, but it had been honest. There were late nights, missed opportunities, financial worries, and moments of exhaustion. But there were also shared breakfasts, quiet apologies, and hands reaching out in the dark. Emily returned to painting. Not for galleries, but for herself. Her art changed. It wasn't about longing anymore. It was about presence. About moments. Daniel found his rhythm teaching art. Mentoring young creatives who felt lost the way he once had. He often told them, success means nothing if you don't recognize yourself at the end of the day. Sometimes Emily would pause mid-painting and watch him teach, realizing how far they had both come. Not despite their mistakes, but because of them. One evening, as the store closed early due to rain, Emily and Daniel sat by the window watching Lily draw on foggy glass. Do you ever think about how close we came to losing this? Emily asked quietly. Daniel nodded. Every day. That's why I never take it for granted. He took her hand, thumb brushing over her ring. Not because he needed reassurance, but because he chose connection. Liam, now grown, often visited with stories of his own life. One night he laughed and said, You two taught me what real love looks like. Not romance, commitment. Emily felt her eyes sting. Daniel's parents softened with time. They visited more often. His mother helped Lily organize books. His father sat quietly in the art space, finally admitting one day, You built something meaningful. Daniel smiled. We did. On their anniversary years later, Daniel took Emily back to the bridge. The same bridge. The same water. Different people. I don't need to promise you forever anymore, Daniel said softly. We already proved it. Emily leaned into him. Love didn't save us, she whispered. Choice did. They stood in silence, watching the sunset. No fear, no doubt. Just peace. Asterisk, if this ending brought peace to your heart, like and subscribe. More heartfelt stories are waiting for you. Asterisk. That night, Emily wrote in her journal. Asterisk, love is not found. It is built. In patience. In forgiveness. In returning. Again and again. Asterisk. She closed the book, turned off the light, and curled beside Daniel. Outside, Willowbrook slept peacefully. Inside, two hearts rested, knowing their story wasn't perfect. But it was real. And that was enough.